have 10 years in the world of football, playing professionally and also playing part-time, and obviously coming from the early days of it not being able to have a actual career, I suppose, full-time career in football. So I kind of knew from a very, very young age that all I wanted to do was play football. I was always boisterous as a kid. Obviously, being a female, mum introduced me to Barbie dolls and stuff like that. I was never interested whatsoever. I always kind of wanted to play more energetic stuff, so cops and robbers, running around and stuff like that. And then my mum introduced me to a football, and I just fell in love with it. Didn't leave my side whatsoever. I like to think I've hopefully been a role model for some of the young players that are now able to play professionally, and I hope I can continue to do that. No one in our family played football whatsoever, so for me to play football was quite unusual, but I kind of become healthily obsessed with the game at a very young age. Kind of had that mentality that I wanted to compete, I wanted to be better or on par with the players that we're playing against, even at such a young age. She offered a support, and she said, "Look, Jess, I think we should try and get you into a team." She organised trials for me at Leeds Centre of Excellence, and it was a 3-week trial. I remember going home telling my mum I was really excited about it. I said, "Look, Mum, Miss Monroe's got me these trials. Can I get there? Can you take me?" And it was hard at that point because my mum, she was single parent. We didn't have a lot of money at the time, and she was working like all hours of the night, working night shifts. So she was like, "Sorry, I can't get you there," and she couldn't drive either. So Miss Monroe, she took me herself. She which I'll be always grateful for. And she drove me there herself for the first week of the trial. And then my mum organised for my auntie to come, my auntie Tracy. She then took me for the second week. And in the second week of the trial, I remember the coach at the time, can't remember his name, but I just remember the conversation. He pulled 4 of us, 4 girls. He went, "Look, girls, I'm not going to ask you to come back next week." And at the time, obviously, I wanted it that much. And I felt like I'd had a good trial. I thought, God, I feel good. I've played well. I've done everything that I can. And I remember walking all like this, walking all the way back, and my auntie was sat there. And it's a memory that I'll never forget, because I remember walking out there and telling her the news, and my auntie was so excited for me. Like, you know, when you say that your family lived through your dreams and your excitement, that's exactly what my mum and my auntie did. As soon as we got in the car, I remember putting a quilt on my legs, going, "Right, we've got to insure these legs," like this. And then from then, like, I just progressed on, and I knew then that there was women teams. I then investigated it more myself consciously, and then I knew that there was an England team, and that's what I wanted to do. I think for me, everybody's pinnacle's different. Whether you're playing for just the enjoyment of football, whether you're playing it just to meet new people. But I wanted to play for England one day. I wanted to compete with the best in the world. So I remember, even like I said, from being a young kid in primary school, I had that mentality of resilience, of hard work, and that healthy competitive nature. And I think my mum bred me with that. As a young kid, she was a acting role model every day, because she did that every day in her job, and she kind of instilled that mentality into me, and I think that actually helped me pave the way for my career. Yeah. Between the ages of 14 and 16, it all escalated very quick for me. I remember at the time them being the older players, and they welcomed me into the team, which was great. They made it so much easier for me as a young kid, and I was playing with a School of Excellence alongside that as well, and they'd have these talent camps. Basically the aim of these talent camps is that you'd go and you'd play against other centre of excellences, so you'd have like Man United Centre of Excellence and all around the country, all different teams, and they'd have England scouts there. So it was kind of your time to shine, but it was one of them, you knew that they were there watching you, and I'd wait for the letter all the time. I'd wait for the letter and I won't get it. And I remember at the time being sad, crying to my mum and stuff like that, because that's what I wanted at the time, and it was really important to me. And I didn't find out this scout were there until a couple of weeks later, when I received a letter, and then it said that they'd like to invite me down to an England camp. I remember getting that excited. I think I tried to jump into the splits, and I remember like hurting my groin a little, and I was just like just over the moon with excitement, and I just couldn't wait. So as you can imagine, from the age of 14, where I didn't have a team, to then the back end of me being 14, then to 19, playing for a club and then getting picked for England, it was just a whirlwind. I never expected it to happen so quick for me, but it did. And I always say now I'm grateful for the opportunities that I was given, because football has given me a lot, and I'm really grateful for that. I at the time was in the England senior squad, and I'd been dropped out of it. Had a conversation with the manager at the time, and he wanted me to score more goals. So I was like, it is difficult to hear, but I'll always say I learned the most then about myself. I learned the most about how much resilience I actually had, because I was absolutely devastated. In the world of football, you're always learning. Even now, as a more mature player now, I'm still learning. I made the decision at that moment in time. I'd had a brilliant season at Notts, and I'll always be grateful to what they give me there. I think I finished top goal scorer in the league. Got voted for PFA Player of the Year alongside some fantastic world-class players. But I found myself struggling to get selected continuously, so I remember making that conscious decision. I felt like I needed a change, and I think in my heart as well, that was one thing that I wanted to go and do, and I thought that team could go and do it, so I made the decision to move to Liverpool. For the first 4 to 5 months, I struggled at Liverpool, purely because they played a different style of football to what I was used to at Notts County. And you always get that in football. You always have little hiccups where you're not performing well, or your touch isn't there, or you're struggling just to gain that momentum, and eventually I found it. In the world of football, you've got to expect injury. I sometimes played when I wasn't fully fit, and what I should have done is just said, look, because you love the game, you want to play, you're eager to play, and at the time, if I could give any advice to any young player, it would be just to speak to your physio, get on with it. The quicker you speak to him, the quicker you'll be on the road to recovery. So I think I had 3 operations. Just couldn't get back from it, just in pain constantly all the time. Thanks to an external physio as well that helped me. Then now I'm playing pain-free, and I never ever thought that I'd find that day, but I have. So I'll be forever grateful. I'd love the sport to continue the way it's going. It's great now to see that women can have a career in football and have it as a profession. I think for myself, I'm so grateful for the fact that I've been a part of that. I've been a part of that progression, and I hope I can continue to be a part of that progression. Like I say, I'm working with kids now that they have their own dreams, and like I say, I want to show them that it is possible. You just need that mentality, you just need that hard work. So going back to primary school, obviously because you're at a young age there that you don't really differentiate between male and female. You just kind of go on the playground, you kick a ball about and you go home. You don't really think about it. But as you get older, and as I got older, going into high school was a bit more of a challenge, I'd say. I think some of the boys at times found it very difficult to accept that girls can compete with them as well. So when I did get selected for England, and I didn't want it announced in the school assembly, but it got announced in the school assembly, so everybody in the school knew, and that opened up a bit of a can of worms for me, because like sometimes I'd be walking past the playground, the lads would be playing football, and they'd be like, they won't say anything bad, but they'd challenge me. They'd be like, "You're that girl that plays for England, aren't you?" I'd be like, "Yeah, oh yeah, I bet you're not better than me, I bet you're not better than me." So I had my best friend at the time. She'd be like, "Go on, Jess, go on, show them." So then I had that challenge. I overcome it, and eventually the lads in school started respecting me and kind of became some of my biggest fans, I suppose. Anytime they'd then see me playing on TV in a game, they'd be the first to message me and say, "Well done today, Jess. Obviously it's great to see that you're doing well," which is fantastic. And it was nice that I changed their opinion, because their opinion at that moment in time, I would say, was quite distorted, in the fact that I felt like they felt like I couldn't compete. I couldn't be as technically as good as them. So it was nice to change their mindset. For myself, like I said, absolutely love the game. Fell in love with it at a young age, and I still love it now. I honestly, hand on heart, I don't know what the future holds for myself, but all I know is that I want to influence other people's lives for the better.